You really couldn't make this up, but it must make any sensible person seriously question the leadership and the governing of this country. So Keir Starmer has dodged this 3-hour emergency debate over the appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States. He didn't even bother to show up. I don't know what that kind of leadership that shows you, but he just left it to other ministers to answer questions. Now, all of this hangs over the appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States, regardless of his connections to Jeffrey Epstein, convicted paedophile, regardless of the warnings of the emails that were going to be published and the contents that show the extent of that relationship between them, and regardless of Keir Starmer standing accused of overruling and perhaps ignoring security concerns allegedly by MI5 over his appointment in the first place, and despite him continuing to blame other people for all of this issue, he just hasn't bothered to attend this debate today, which is ongoing as we speak. Oh, and by the way, the one-in, one-out migrant flights to deport migrants that Labour's been harping on about recently, yesterday and today, have both been cancelled. So I'll come back to those in a minute. But first of all, if you do like brutally honest approach to what's going on in the law, the media, and of course politics, please do subscribe to the channel. I'll be really grateful. But if I can borrow Keir Starmer's words, when there is a problem and you ignore a problem, he says as follows.
Pretending there isn't a problem is part of the problem, Prime Minister.
Now, of course, that was Keir Starmer in opposition, having a go at Rishi Sunak, as he made quite a habit of doing. But as he said, and I agree with him completely, pretending that there isn't a problem is part of the problem. There are two problems here. First of all, I said in reverse order, I said that these migrant flights were likely to come up against this problem of being cancelled at the last minute due to protests, due to legal challenges, or even threats of legal challenges. And this is what I said not just one day ago. These such claims could well block these deportations at the last minute. Now, I would suggest that if that happens, and I strongly suspect that there's going to be at the very least an attempt to make this happen, then this could really spell disaster for Keir Starmer, because this... And here we are. Not only did that flight yesterday not take place, because apparently there was, from what I read at least, there was one migrant due on that flight, but it was cancelled at last minute because of the threats and protests by the charity, the threats of legal action, that is. And apparently today's flight has also been cancelled. So I read in the Telegraph, the deportation flights, one in, one out, have been cancelled for a second day after the legal challenges and protests. The Home Office had planned to return migrants on commercial Air France flights from Heathrow to Paris every day this week. However, flights yesterday and today have left without any migrants on board after last-minute legal challenges and protests from these charities. This delay is, as I said it would be, a blow to Keir Starmer as he seeks to put this new deal into action to serve as a deterrent to channel crossings. Now, I said when it was first announced, I don't think it's going to be much of a deterrent at all, because one in, one out, and with the limited numbers, this just wasn't going to be a deterrent in any event. With more than 31,000 migrants now having crossed into England in 2025 alone. This is the highest number at this point of the year since the first arrivals came in 2018. And if that wasn't bad enough, they can't even manage to deport anyone who is arrested to be deported back to France, having been convicted of rape of a 14-year-old girl in France in his absence, who is now fighting extradition in the UK because they say that his prison cell in Paris might be too small. Abdullah Madzeh, 36 years old, was arrested under the Extradition Act 2003 after a warrant was issued by France for the rape of a minor. He was convicted in his absence of raping a teenager and given 5 years in prison, but still has retrial rights. He appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court wearing a grey prison clothes, accompanied by an Afghan interpreter, and the lawyer argued on his behalf that his case might pass the threshold for Article 3 of the ECHR, which says that no one will be subjected to torture or inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment, and that there was a real risk that he'll be detained in a space fewer than 3 meters square if he's sent back to Paris, either to serve his sentence or to face a retrial. So this is not even someone that's come here and committed a crime here. This is someone who has come here to flee a crime elsewhere and has been convicted in France which is obviously a European country, not an unsafe country. This isn't even about sending him back to an unsafe place. This is sending him back to France because they've asked for him back to imprison him or allow him to face a retrial, as is his right under French law. But this is someone who's committed a crime in France, being convicted in his absence, and France wants him back so they can imprison him or allow him his right to retrial. But he is now fighting the return to France, which is obviously a safe country. It's not as if he's threatened with being sent back to a war zone. This is being sent back to France to face the punishment for his crime. And doubtless it is now being challenged by way of legal aid, because legal aid, although it's means and merits tested, legal aid is available to fight extradition claims in the UK. And so I suspect, although I can't confirm, that this case will be paid for by the taxpayer to fight his extradition to France, even though France want him back. So we can't even manage to get people back who France want to have back so that they can face their punishment there, let alone the ones that we've now set up on this one-in, one-out deal, which have obviously literally not yet got off the ground. And then we get seriously misleading posts like this one from Sadiq Khan, which really irritate me because he seems to suggest that everybody that doesn't agree with him about the events at the weekend, Unite the Kingdom, etc., that they are far right, and that anybody supporting the flag here is far right. And this language really irritates me because I think that is divisive, ironically, and dangerous language, because I think it's wrong. Now, I've done a longer video talking about what I talk of as the far right on my Off the Record channel. I'll link that below. Please do go and watch it. But I think this is wrong, and there's countless examples of why. If I go to some of my bookmarked posts here, you can see this post here from Aja. She said, as a born and raised brown Londoner, this is how I found Saturday's march. The only division I feel in London is from Khan. And this is the photo that she posts here. She's having a great time. There's lots of people from all sorts of backgrounds all coming together to celebrate British culture, the British flag, and everything that it stands for. And she's not the only one either. There's a few more posts down here. David Atherton posts here about a Muslim lady wearing the Union flag hijab attending this rally at the weekend, lip-syncing to Rule Britannia, and the first video sings along with England supporters at the tube station. In her bio, David says, it says, patriotic British Muslim Arab, every human life matters. And you can go and find and watch her TikTok videos here, Khadija.Brown. She's obviously having a great time around lots of other people celebrating British culture. And so when Sadiq Khan posts things like this, and other commentators, I think Diane Abbott as well has had her say, when they are saying that anybody supporting that rally is far right, I think that language ironically is divisive and it is wrong. And potentially actionable, because it could well be found to be defamatory, particularly if it has some serious effect on reputation, or if it's a business, if it causes loss to the business, it could well be actionable language. So anyway, I don't think that'll be the last update for the day, but that's how it's going so far. So subscribe for more. I'll let you know what happens. I'll see you in the next one.